Okay, so today I'm going to talk about turning the other cheek. And this is something that I have been exploring a lot because when I first heard turn the other cheek, it meant, okay, uh, uh, at least the way I interpreted it was, okay, they slap you on one side, so you're going to give them the other cheek to let them slap you on the other side. And as I started to explore that, what I found, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about something from the Gospel of Matthew, and it's part of the Sermon on the Mount, and it talks about that when we are responding to hurt or to conflict, that direction to respond with nonviolence and forgiveness rather than with retaliation or anger or revenge. And what I found interesting is as I started to explore this, I realized that, or I found out that turning the other cheek also had a cultural significance. Back in that day, if someone struck you, they struck you um, on the right cheek, and it was typically done with the back of their hand, kind of like this. And it was a gesture of insult or domination. And by offering the other cheek, essentially what you were doing is you were refusing to play into the power dynamics of violence or humiliation. And essentially, what you were doing was you were reclaiming your dignity and refusing to react in the same violent manner in which they've acted. So turning the other cheek wasn't about being passive or about being weak. It was really a radical act of nonviolence and of strength and of dignity, and really refusing to meet the violence with violence. And on a deeper level, this teaching speaks to the idea of love and forgiveness, and even when, and probably more importantly, when confronted with cruelty or unkindness. And so to just go a little deeper into this, we talk about, like responding to hate with love. And what does this mean? And I'll just offer you a few things of what I think it means. I mean, I think it means choosing non-reaction over retaliation. And I know sometimes this can be hard for me because when someone is unkind to me, like it makes me sad, it makes me angry. Like I get triggered. And what I've been trying to work on is, instead of giving my power to this person and wasting my energy on this person, what I'm really trying to do is to feel what I need to feel. Um, but not then taking it a step further and letting this natural impulse, this natural reaction, then translate into like a retaliation or a need to defend ourselves. And responding with love really means choosing this non-reaction over this knee-jerk reaction, and it involves pausing, taking a breath, and not allowing this anger or fear or sadness to drive how you respond. I thought it was interesting. I was reading a book recently, and it was talking about the samurais. And one of the principles, and I'm not a samurai expert by any means, so if I say this wrong, please drop a note down below. Let me know more about it. But one of the principles of being a samurai is the idea of self-control. And where this comes in, and it plays into all areas of their lives. But one of the things it talks about is how it is dishonorable to kill out of anger. So, a lot of times, people will do things to make us angry. And, a lot of times a samurai will defend themselves, defend their families, defend their honor. But this killing, it is dishonorable to kill out of anger. So you kill from a place of centeredness. You kill from a place of defending what you love. You respond consciously instead of impulsively, and you respond out of love instead of responding out of hate. and you break this cycle of conflict, and you really give space for healing and understanding. And speaking of understanding, one of the principles that can be tied into turning the other cheek is really understanding where this hate comes from. Because a lot of times hate is born out of fear or pain or misunderstanding. And responding with love really requires us to recognize that those who are expressing hate may be hurting. They may be in fear. They may be struggling with their own internal battles. And while that doesn't necessarily excuse their behavior, and it doesn't, stop you from responding with boundaries, it just means taking the time to understand, okay, what is this person going through? What is causing them to react or act in this way? Um, and again, this doesn't justify their behavior, but it helps to shift your perspective and avoid dehumanizing them, and really opening this door for compassion and love, and seeing another person suffering, even when they're causing harm, seeing where they're suffering, and maybe in us understanding the source of hate, we can help to alleviate their suffering. And by us responding with compassion and love, maybe we can de-escalate this situation, and maybe even turn their hate into love and understanding. Um, Another idea behind this is you reflect your values, not their values. And this was really a huge lesson to me during my time in the military, because I had a friend that was murdered. And the position that I was in, I knew who was involved. I knew who had planned it. And I was angry and I was sad. And one of the lessons for me in that um, was, because my friend was a very loving person, and how he behaved in the world was through this love. And who I am as a loving person, and sitting with this hate, was not who I was. And as hard as it was for me to move through the anger, and to really move back into love, for people who had murdered my friend, that was a hard one. But it really came back to, what do I value? I value love. And again, that doesn't mean there aren't consequences for what people do. It doesn't mean we can't set healthy boundaries. It just means ultimately coming back to what you value, and what I value is love. And when we talk about love, forgiveness is the ultimate act of love. And sometimes it can be hard. And when I talk about forgiveness, I'm not talking about, again, there not being any consequences for people's actions. It's not about excusing the behavior, but it's really about freeing yourself of this burden of carrying anger or resentment, and having this compassion and this love. Um, and when we harbor hate, or we can't forgive, it is an emotional burden for us, and it does take up space, where love can thrive, but it's taking up space that is really like kind of suffocating this love that can thrive in us. And in this ultimate gift you can give yourself, is to choose love and forgiveness. And really, this turning the other cheek is talking about breaking a cycle of hate. When we think of like the Hatfields and the McCoys, or a more fictional like Romeo and Juliet with the Montagues and the Capulets, there was this ongoing feud between the two families, and lives were being lost, in this cycle of hatred. And sometimes all it takes is for one person to go, enough is enough. Because hate has this way of perpetuating itself, creating this cycle of negativity and suffering, and maybe even people who weren't even alive when it started, are suffering. um and I see this going on in the world. I mean, and Israel and Palestine are the perfect example on how there's this cycle of hatred, and this cycle of fear, and how destructive it can be in the world. And love can really have this transformative power that can soften these hardened hearts, that can kind of change the course of interactions, and really break through the walls that hate can build up in us. And while love may not change the other person at all, or maybe it takes continual love to break through the hate. Your act of love, or your act of compassion or forgiveness, can kind of plant a seed of transformation. It can kind of open the door, for this love to grow. And in this, sometimes advocating for justice is love. Because we don't want to see this hate and these acts of violence or vengeance being perpetuated in the world. And sometimes love in actions means standing up for what's right and showing respect for all people. But that also means showing respect and love for the people that you disagree with. For those people who are showing hate or showing violence, or because that's how we plant those seeds, so we can fight for change and we can confront injustice, but in a way that's dignified, that's non-violent, that's respectful, that's full of love. As Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you wish to see in the world. So if you want to see more love in the world, you can't show this through hatred or retaliation or violence. If you want to see love in the world, you have to embody this love, embody this patience and understanding and compassion. And, a lot of times, just by showing this example, it inspires that in others to act in a similar way, because like nothing will take the air out of a bully's tires faster than showing them love and passion and understanding. And it's often this, meeting a bully with a bully that just keeps it going. But they're really often just trying to get a reaction, and when what they get is love, it's almost like they don't give them what it is that they want. And this loving response, has ripple effects. And it has a greater effect than maybe we know or think is possible. Um, and really, this act of love is really embracing your own healing and your own inner peace. Because when someone shows us hate and we show them love, this is really showing how much healing we've done. And I know that hatred and negativity can leave emotional scars, and I have them. Some of them are still healing, and I'm still trying to step into that. But choosing love is an act of self-care, and it's as much of an act of care for ourselves as it is for others. And when we no longer feed into this cycle, it's really taking our energy and putting it somewhere else, in a better place, and not giving the hate more energy than what it deserves. And really, and I just want to conclude with this, but when we respond to hate with love, it's really offering kind of a pathway or a bridge to connection. Because as I've said, hate often comes from places of either isolation or fear or misunderstanding. And by responding with love, you open the possibility for connection, and you show people that no matter the external differences, no matter what they're showing you, that love can kind of rise above these boundaries and these differences, And it does offer this bridge to understanding and unity, because if someone has an idea about you and they're showing you hate and anger and you're showing them love, a lot of times it can be very confusing. They're going, wait, I thought this person was my enemy. I thought this person was a sinner. I thought this person was, however they have thought that you are. And when you show them this loving being that you really are, it really opens the door for a new way to understand you. It really kind of opens this door for communication and creates, kind of a space for dialogue, and it allows people to really engage with each other and break down these barriers that are dividing us. But responding to hate with love is a conscious and courageous choice. And we even look at the word courageous, core, coming from the heart. That's courage. That's when it comes from the heart. And it's not always easy, and it doesn't mean accepting mistreatment or ignoring harmful behavior. It's really about choosing to approach hatred with this powerful, transformative love, showing empathy, acting with compassion, forgiving people, standing for justice, and really refusing to perpetuate this cycle of negativity. And like I've said, responding to hate with love helps to heal even your own wounds, helps to heal their wounds. It fosters connection and understanding, and it really just affirms our shared humanity. And it is a reminder that we can choose how we respond, no matter how hateful or vengeful a person is. We choose how we respond, and by doing that and choosing love, we create spaces of peace, of compassion, and an understanding, even in the face of hostility. So this is my question for you: where can I turn the other cheek? Where am I potentially, and hostility doesn't necessarily mean violence, but like, I have situations in my life right now where I need to practice what I'm talking about. Um, because like I've said before, I have this tendency to hold grudges or to go, but they did wrong me, and they need to own their stuff. And so this is my question for you: where can you reclaim your dignity, reclaim your virtue of yourself as being a loving being? Where in your life do you need to, or I won't even say need to, because need to often implies something that's put on you. But where do you want to step back into integrity with yourself? If you say that you value being a loving, compassionate person, where are you not being a loving, compassionate person? And again, I want to get this dialogue coming, so drop down below, invite some friends to the conversation, subscribe, let's really get this conversation going. Yeah, so that's the question. Until next time, let's figure out where we can turn the other cheek, love each other better.